So today's speaker series is Alonna from Promote Local with how to share your stories on social media.
Yeah. So for Promote Local, I'm a content specialist. If you guys were here for the last one that we did about social media, they're kind of going to tie together, but totally are also independent of each other. So I do a lot of Promote Local's social media content planning for different businesses and organizations. And so I have the opinion from the business perspective, but also from the personal perspective. So if you guys have any questions about business or personal, just feel free to ask either one. I made this presentation definitely more personal focused, but if you have business or organizational questions, feel free to ask those too, okay? All right, so starting off with what even is social media? I think we all get a little bit confused these days because so many people are using it, like I said, to sell things to us or simply for entertainment. But at the very core, social media, right? It's for people to make social, personal connections. So keeping that in mind is always kind of an important part of doing things on social media. Like I said, we all kind of just forget that that's what the whole purpose is, right? So whether you're trying to sell or trying to connect with somebody, being social, so being more yourself, giving those stories like we're going to talk about is important. So then I want to ask what platforms you are using. If you want to just unmute or drop it in the chat, either way, this is cool.
This is Ramsey. I know this sounds terrible, but I'm kind of anti social media because I find it difficult to use, so I use a telephone mostly.
Yeah. I don't think it's horrible. I think it's kind of horrible on the social media, their end, right? That they make it hard to use. They should be working on making it easier and inclusive for everybody to use. But I think that's a fair opinion. Anybody else want to share which platforms they use in their lives day to day or weekly?
Yeah, I mainly use Facebook. I have an Instagram, but I don't really use it.
Okay.
I do a lot of advocacy on Facebook.
Okay. You're Daniel, I know you like LinkedIn, right?
No, I don't use. I used to use LinkedIn, but I didn't get any like connections wise. So I use I mainly use email and like Zoom meetings where like I just don't really use social media because it depends. I would have to make a business account first.
Maybe.
And well, the funds that I have on social media are not that I'm not that, let's just say, professional. And so I would want to make like a social platform with all of the like Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, so all of the social media outlets, just having one what is the one?
Yeah, like under one kind of persona, right? So you'd make
thank you so much. I'm kind of like, ugh. But yeah, one persona, and then build that brand. Because I think there's a social media aspect, but then there's a branding aspect to the social media, and then go from there. That's how I would do it.
Okay.
I hope this isn't being recorded because I don't know. But if it is, that's okay. I don't want to admit I don't like Facebook, but I guess I don't like Facebook, so yeah.
It is being recorded, but it's okay, right?
And I use Facebook, Instagram, which I'm barely on it. But sometimes when I'm bored out of my mind, I sometimes go on
Yeah.
LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on, yeah.
I mean, I have a Facebook, but I really don't like it because I don't know how to use it. And Twitter, well, that's so hard because you can only use so many characters and then it cuts you off, yeah.
I don't know if Facebook does that anymore. I know. And that's why I personally am not a tweeter, because I have a really hard time only, speaking in 150 characters or whatever it is now that you can use. I think that's super difficult. So, okay. So thank you guys for telling me. Is anybody else? I don't know if there are other people. Chaz wants to offer an opinion.
He has to type in
Okay.
the chat.
That uses Facebook a lot.
Okay. All right. So let's move on. And if Chaz wants to say something, drop it in the chat and you guys can just holler at me and read it out or something. Okay. So why does sharing personal stories on social media work? Like we were talking about before, personal connection evokes emotion and people just kind of love other people, right? I think especially after COVID, when we were all kind of isolated from each other, everybody was really craving that personal in-person connection, which is why, like Nathaniel says, he uses Zoom a lot, which is basically like an in-person form of communication without being in person. So Zoom and email is kind of, you could categorize that as social media, right? But it's a closed sort of circuit of social media where it's not public out for everybody else to see. And you can have your other accounts to be private as well, but they're still more public than just an email, which you're sending to one person, or a Zoom call, which you're on with 6 people. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I like sharing your personal stories. Now, sharing your personal stories, it begins in small doses.
Right.
And small doses become a large dose.
Mm-hmm.
So I began just sharing my story by speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And recently, I am publishing my story through a university.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm saying personal stories, when you have the right accommodations, it's probably the #1 tool to actually get to meet connections, meet people. I mean, there's a you can speak, you can take on speeches all you want. You can do interviews with different universities, which I've done this past 2 years. So what I'm saying is that the key ingredient is trying to craft your personal story.
Mm-hmm. And we'll talk about, I think it's hard sometimes to see your story as important. No
Yes.
matter what your story is, it's hard to say, I have something of value to say, because you're living with yourself every day, right? So you're used to everything going on in your brain and everything going on around you. So it seems boring and uninteresting and like nobody would care. But then you hear Sydney or Nathaniel or Mira or whoever else or me tell our story and you're interested and you're captivated, right? So kind of keeping that in mind too. When you're crafting that story, you might feel like, oh my gosh, this is so boring. Nobody cares. But that is 100% not true. because you're going to evoke emotion and you're going to have a personal connection with people. So briefly, we'll talk about social media and advocacy. Sydney brought this up in our little email conversation about what kind of topics we wanted to chat about in accompanying social media today. So one of the things that came to mind for me is you can advocate for giving your recommendation, right? So whether that's like you're giving your recommendation on what kind of place you want to eat at, or what kind of place you want to shop, or what you thought of a product, or that kind of thing, right? That's just like basic social media advocacy, but not in the same sense. So otherwise you could give your recommendation for organizations, you could give your recommendation for voting, right? We'll talk about the Disability Vote Coalition in the next slide, and also showing your support for people and causes. So what are things that you personally feel that you give advocacy about online?
No more baseball theory, well, until Friday.
Like a wide variety of topics, really. Because I run many advocacy Facebook groups and page, and like it really depends on time of year too.
Right. So do you say disability advocacy, voting advocacy? Those are the two main ones.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Do you have anything that they, and it doesn't have to be advocacy, but that you speak about online, whether it's, you know, like I said, talking about a product that you really like or a place that you really like, anything like that.
I usually talk about the accommodations in secondary education.
Mm-hmm.
Secondary education is college people.
Yeah.
So I tell my story on how I started college, and then I tell my story how I finished college and what the steps and what the short-term goals were and what the long-term goals were to get my bachelor's degree. And since I tell my story, I've been getting interviews from, like, again, interviews from like out of state and stuff like that, videos that they want to make of me, articles that they want to write. That's because I made an outline on my story. I took notes on my story, and then from the outline, I wrote my story like you'd write a paper. That's what. And so then I wrote out questions to my story and the answers. So if like somebody asked me an off-guard question, I would be able to answer the question fully of what they want answered in the interview. So that's how I kind of do it.
So on a similar but different topic, one of the things that I do on social media outside of Promote Local is I make TikTok videos recommending places across the state of Wisconsin. So places that you need to visit, right? So restaurants, breweries, wineries, you know, fun things like that, goat yoga, right? And people love to hear that because they're like, oh, this person who I can identify with likes this thing and supports this thing. I should check it out, right? So it kind of turns into a snowball effect, like we were talking about with Nathaniel before. So you share your personal story, right? So maybe we'll go to the next one. We'll use Sydney's Disability Vote Coalition voter spotlight as an example. And I don't know why it's all blurry. It wasn't blurry when I put it in there yesterday, so I apologize about that. But so they asked Sydney, what's your voter spotlight quote that you want us to highlight, right? So she gives them a quote. I'm excited to vote in the next election. My ideal superintendent candidate would care about the special education system services because those services help me from kindergarten to high school. So the Wisconsin Disability Vote Coalition posts that on their Facebook. Then we'll say Sydney is also on Facebook, so she shares it to her personal connection audience, the people that she's friends with on Facebook. And then Sydney's aunt sees it, right? And then Sydney's aunt shares it with all the people that she's friends with. And then Sydney's aunt's friend from the coffee shop that she goes to every week sees it. And then she says, oh, wow, that's so awesome. I definitely agree with Sydney. Then she shares it. And now that post, which if just was not about a personal story or connection, would have not been shared by Sydney to begin with, has reached a whole new audience and group of people. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it really kind of takes the effect of a simple social media post and makes it so that it could reach so many more people and have so much more impact, right? Because the Wisconsin Disability Vote Coalition could post a simple post that said, who are you voting for superintendent this election, right? And maybe a few people would comment and say like, oh, I'm gonna vote for this person because this. Ramsey.
I think everybody has a voice, and I think it's so important to share for everybody to share their story.
Mhm.
And I feel so bad because yes, I'm on social media, but I don't know how to use it, and I find it tedious. But that being said, I think everybody should have a voice to them because I know it sounds hypocritical, but it's really not.
Yeah, I think you're right. Everybody should be able to have a voice and be able to share their story. And one of the benefits of social media, which we can agree or disagree upon, right, is that it gives people a platform to share their story, which I think is kind of the benefit, right? Whereas before, it could be a lot more work to kind of do what Nathaniel is doing, where you're getting connections with people to interview you, right? Like that could be a whole kind of new step, right? That's really cool and really awesome, but also comes with a lot more groundwork, like he said, writing your story, making the outline, being prepared to answer the questions. Whereas in other cases, if you're just using social media, you can put your story out there in small doses and people can share it. So
Yeah, and I mean, YouTube's another one because, like, with the YouTube channel, I mean, people will see it, but if you take the links from the YouTube and then post them on social media, more people will know about it.
I think that's the same as this slide. Who is sharing Sydney's story, right? So people that know you personally. If you're going to post that link of an interview that you did with Ramsey, right? If you did an interview with him on YouTube, you posted it on Facebook. People that know you are going to share it. People that know him are going to share it, that know you personally, right? Like your family and your friends. And then people that know you both professionally, like that you've worked with or that you've spoke with at a conference or that you met at a conference, whatever that may look like. And then people that identify with that story that say, oh, wow, I really agree with some of the pieces of what you said. And then just that, they agree or they see themselves in you, right? So like, oh yes, I identify with your story. We have similar stories. Okay, so back to kind of like what Nathaniel was saying too, ways that you can share publicly. These are very basic, so if you guys have other thoughts and ideas, you can throw them in as well. But so partner with organizations to tell your story. I'm sure that a lot of you get emails that are like, is anybody interested in being in a photo shoot or volunteering for a video shoot? Right? Do you ever get those? No?
Yeah, I get, I get them, and I just, you have a meeting, it doesn't really take that long. You just have a meeting, and then an hour meeting, you tell your story, and then you share your photos if you want to share a photo, and then you guys agree on, whoever you're working with, agree on what would be the best professional photo that will go with the story.
And this kind of, if you were at the self-determination conference last week, I think there was the YouTube studio room, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of an example of this. You could volunteer to say, hey, I want to go in there and tell my story, right? And that can be kind of scary, especially when you're like, back to what we said before, nobody cares about my story. It's not important and it's boring, but it's so important and it's not boring and people will care. So you can volunteer for those sorts of things, whether it's to just be in a photo shoot so that they can use photos of you on social media, or to be in a video to share your story, like Sydney said, on YouTube or on Facebook or TikTok or anything like that. Then there's the opportunity often to write a blog or an article, which I think kind of is also what Nathaniel was saying before, of doing interviews that either could be turned into something written or something verbal, right?
Yes, and some of them you get accommodations for. The one that I had to change in the vignettes, I didn't have any accommodations for. So it really depends on the organization, even though they want you to write the story yourself. Like actually, right? They don't want to be on a meeting with you and you're dictating your story. Because some universities do that too. So you have to realize what you can do, what accommodations you need before you even have like a setup meeting with other people. So you have to prepare yourself before you get into the meeting, so you can tell your story fluently and efficiently.
But I think that just realizing that you have the potential to share your story, when you get those sorts of people that reach out and say, hey, is anybody interested? You can say, okay, me, I want to share my story, and then be ready, like Nathaniel said, with what accommodations you would need or what way you would want to go about sharing it, that sort of thing. But the other really simple one is giving a quote, like we saw with Sydney with the Wisconsin Disability Vote Coalition. That can be good because you don't have to write a whole big long thing that can be kind of overwhelming, even for me. If somebody was like, hey, could you write us an article? I'd be like, ooh, I can, but that's a little scary, So a quote is a lot more easy to digest, I think, right, Sydney? Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely.
And I think a few of you at least have given quotes for to be a voter spotlight for the Disability Vote Coalition. So so the other way is to just share publicly on your own social media. Like we were talking about before, it could either be your personal account, or you could make a public account that is business related, just like your professional out-facing persona, which is the word we used before. So whether that's like your LinkedIn, or you make a Twitter that is just specifically about advocacy of one type or another, whatever, Instagram, if you like to make videos, you could do TikTok, right? Whatever that looks like, you would make your own account and share your stories, your words on that platform. The other option there, which I would just encourage you to do, is to use hashtags so that other people see it. So you could either just like look up on Google or on that platform, type in, Wisconsin voting, if you're going to talk about voting advocacy, and see what other hashtags come up. And then you can use those so that other people will see them. And tagging organizations who you want to share your content. So back to my example of how I make videos about places that you should visit across Wisconsin, I'll a lot of times tag Travel Wisconsin or Discover Wisconsin or the Wisconsin DNR page, right? Because then they see it and they go, oh yeah, this is at our park, for example, with the DNR. And then they'll share it to their audience. And then you've reached another, 1,000 people or another 5,000 people or another 15,000 people, depending on what their audience looks like.
What is
Any
hashtag?
questions here? Go ahead.
What's hashtag?
Hashtag. So it's the number sign first, and then a word after that is all in one, which is kind of annoying because it is a little inaccessible that they put it all in one. But so you put the word after that hashtag with no space, and that makes your content searchable. So it's kind of like like an index at the beginning of the book or a table of contents, where you can look at that and say, okay, so we're looking at voting on page 56, kind of like that. It tags it. So that way, when you search it on Instagram or on Facebook, your post would come up because it's about that topic. Make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting because I always thought like hashtags and tagging people was for Twitter. So I've never really done it on my Facebook pages or groups. So I mean, it really wouldn't matter on private groups, but like on my public advocacy page, it might.
So the only thing on groups it can be good is because it still makes it searchable. So if you want people in the private group to be able to see content, say maybe it's location based, right? So that you want people who are in Madison to see a specific post, you could do hashtag Madison in that group, and then people could type in the group Madison and that post would come up.
Huh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so it can be useful just to help you kind of categorize that information in a different way.
I'll have to start doing that.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, feel free. I have my email at the end. You guys can just send me an email and be like, hey, Alonna, help me with this. I'm confused. Or what do you do here? And I'd be happy to help. So now I kind of want to go around and have you guys give an example of how you think you could share on social media, or something that you learned that you could implement, use on your daily or weekly or monthly, or in Ramsey's case, never use of social media. So if whoever wants to start, and then we can chat about it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I can start using hashtags on my advocacy Facebook page and see if that reaches more people. Because I mean, the page you get pretty good insights on. So
yeah. And do you have any other thoughts on ways that you could share your story?
don't know. I do that quite frequently. So
for other organizations mostly, right?
Yeah.
So maybe you could think about in the future having, your own personal thing where you're sharing.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to share?
I think Larry joined us too.
I think
Yeah.
so. Okay. Nobody? So I just wanted to leave you with, and we can talk about anything else because we've got a little bit of time yet. Everyone's story is interesting because your viewpoint is unique to you. So no matter what it's about, whether it's advocacy for one program, one thing or another, or just, sharing your personal views on products and places. And then questions, and here's my email, which I can drop in the chat or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, it ties in perfectly to last week's conference.
Yeah.
Looks like Ramsey raised his hand.
Hey, Sydney. This is Ramsey. I found a bill called the website technology bill that was introduced in the U.S. Senate, and it would help ensure that all websites are accessible for people with disabilities. So I'm gonna send it to you so you can talk to this group of voters, because the guy that spoke about it should be a good guest speaker for people first.
Yeah, it sounds like a great connection. You'll have to send me the information.
Mhm.
I just sent it so you can talk to this group about it. It's called the Website Software Accessibility Bill.
Website Software Application Accessibility Act.
Website Software Application Accessibility Act. And it's making its way through the House and Senate, and if it passes, it makes everybody's life easier. But I don't want to be a conflict of interest, so maybe you can talk to this group of others.
Oh, are you saying Alana could talk to them?
Maybe you can invite this Claire to be a guest speaker, because it's a real important bill. So yeah, thank you,
Yeah.
and I really appreciate the self-determination YouTube channel. So I love it. I was able to pull it up on my TV yesterday. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm glad everyone enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I mean, which social media platform do you find most helpful, Alana?
So I think that Facebook is unique in the sense that it has groups, pages, personal profiles. It kind of has all the different pieces mashed into one, right? So I think that that's super interesting. They're always trying to like suck in another thing to make it even bigger, like videos and reels and marketplace and all that stuff. So Facebook is really like the original beast of social media. But I think that the growth of things like YouTube as a new entertainment platform is really amazing for people to learn different things and to get your story out there, really like to do what we're saying, it's YouTube sharing your story on social media. But I think that Instagram Reels and TikTok videos is also a new unique way to make videos in a short format in a short 7-second, 30-second, up to 3-minute way, which can be a little bit less intimidating maybe than sitting down in front of a camera and giving like a 15 minute video.
Yeah, definitely. I'm on TikTok a little bit more than YouTube, and Instagram. Instagram, I just have a lot of dudes following me, and it's not really the way I want to go. But
yeah, we can always make a new account.
Yeah.
So Alana, what's your email address in case people have questions for you?
in case people have questions for me,
Yeah.
my email is alonna@promotelocal.com, but and it's Alonna is how you spell it. It can be kind of tricky sometimes.
Anyway, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank.
Anybody else have any questions? Yeah. How about you? Very the technology guy.
Actually, I'm just joined and I'm just following.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Thank you.
How about you, Mira?
We also could watch, Sydney, the video from the Promote Local YouTube channel if you were interested in watching that together before we wrapped up.
Yeah.
I didn't put it in here because I wasn't sure how much time we'd have, but if we wanted to pop that on, we can.
Yeah. I think I know what one you're talking about.
Yeah.
So
Should we do that? Do you
Yeah.
guys want to watch a video?
Yeah,
Yeah, we can do that.
absolutely.
See if I can find it. Promote it. Whoa. Promote local. My puppy,
Hey,
he's snoring.
oh, he's not barking like my puppy does.
No, he's taking a nap, so he's snoring.
Oh man.
All right, can you see and hear?
We can't hear. We
You
can
can't
see.
hear. Well, I paused it. Did you hear
wow.
Dylan go, okay, everybody?
No.
Mm,
Maybe you clicked it too fast. I don't
okay,
know.
let's try.
No.
no.
Can't hear it.
No.
I hear a
Hmm.
little bit where he's going just a slight, but it's not very recognizable.
I'm not really sure how to fix that. Does anybody else?
I think when you share the video, you have to there's a button where you have to give permission to share the sound individually.
Sydney, can you make
Let's try if I stop sharing and then reshare.
can you make a lot
Maybe
of
that will work.
calls?
Oh, wait, I think I saw it. There was a little checkbox at the bottom, share sound.
Mm-hmm. It always gets people.
Yeah, all right, let's try again. I'll rewind.
All right, everybody, we are back with Promote Local. This is Dylan. We're going to be talking more on the stories aspect of social media. We are joined here with Alonna Heller. She is the content specialist at Promote Local. We are going to be talking about the blog that she wrote about sharing stories on social media. I have a few questions for her. First things first, why is it important to share stories on social media?
Well, first of all, it's called social media, right? So people are going there to form social, meaningful, personal connections. You can use that in your business marketing strategy by sharing personal stories. So people are kind of wising up to like seeing too many ads and whatever, and they just scroll right past them. But if you're sharing a story of somebody that, you know, they know, they're going to be super interested. But even if they don't know that person, it's personal, it's real, it's social.
Go figure, being social on social media, right?
Right. It's kind of like one of those things that people don't think about, but it's super important.
Yeah. So moving on, what are some of the benefits of sharing stories to social media?
Right. So one of the biggest things is if we're sharing, we'll use me and Dylan, for example. We're sharing on social media a post about Dylan. and he's going to share that post with his audience or his network, right? And then Dylan's mom is going to share that post with her network.
She does.
Yeah, and then Dylan's uncle is going to see that his mom shared it, and he's going to see it, you know? So it just is kind of like this snowball effect where when you're featuring somebody, they tell their people, and then their people tell their people, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing, therefore increasing the reach and engagement of the post.
Beautiful. So I guess last but not least, how do we know that sharing stories actually works to grow visibility?
Yeah, so in the blog, I put some numbers from one of our clients over at the Cottage Grove, Friends of the Cottage Grove Library. This year, we recently started interviewing their board members and telling their stories. And those posts are receiving 3 times the engagement. They're averaging 1,500 to 2,000 on the reach, and just all together performing better because, like I said, those people share it with their audience. And then those people are like, oh, cool, you're doing this thing with the Cottage Grove Library. I want to know more about that. So those numbers are in the blog if you want the exact ones. But that's why the numbers back it up. So you got to do it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You got the quantitative aspect of it and everything. That's great.
Right.
So yeah, I think that wraps it all up. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise on social media. And yeah, we'll be back with the next ones.
Awesome.
I like that
Okay.
one. I like
Yeah.
that. It got to the point. It's just like easy conversation. I mean, it was great.
Yeah, you guys have a lot of great videos, but not a lot of views. So I was trying to share them in my groups.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Alonna, can you hear me? I'm sorry. So, if I want to pull that up on my YouTube, on my TV, would I just type in promote local and it would pop up?
Yes, if you type in promote local, you might have to do Madison, Wisconsin, but I also can probably figure out how to put the link to it in the chat here so that you guys could just have it and copy and paste it if you wanted to keep it for the future.
And Sydney Badu, if you would be so kind as to grab it and email it to me, that'd be great.
Yeah, I can definitely do that.
Because promote local does so good work, and we have to promote them, no pun intended. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I can give you the link.
I love me some promote local.
Yeah, they're pretty good people over there.
Yeah, yes.
I wish I could be like Marcel. Marcel is so awesome.
He is cool.
Well,
and everybody. Yeah, yeah. And we can't forget about our co-host, Sydney Beduya.
yeah. No, we can't forget about her, can we, Ramsey?
No, we can't. And we can't forget about the very talented Nathaniel Lance. Yeah!
Thank you, Ramsey. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think people get enough appreciation, so I try to bring life to everybody's day.
It's very nice, Ramsey. Yeah, I don't think people get enough appreciation either. So
And we have the class, he's so awesome, and you and my Miriam and everybody on the call. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, yes, Ramsey. Yes.
Everybody has something to celebrate, so we should celebrate it. Yeah.
Yes, yes, we should, Ramsey.
And everybody has a story to tell. So they should tell their story and celebrate it on social media.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, we should.
Yep. I think everyone on this call is on social media in some aspect.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said,
And
if you have any questions.
And on the
Yeah.
YouTube channel, there's a YouTube
So,
WC
I
YouTube
don't
channel.
know, what's your favorite part about working for Promote Local?
I don't know. I think that the community aspect is really great. I get to meet a lot of individuals like all of you, which I really enjoy, and work on a lot of things that I wouldn't get to work on if I wasn't working for them. So
Absolutely. Well, you make sure you tell Michelle we really appreciate it.
I will. I'll write a note right now so I don't forget, because if I don't write a note, I probably will forget.
Yeah, that's how I am.
All right. Anything else? Otherwise, I could probably leave you guys to having a great rest of your day.
Yeah. Well, we really enjoyed it, and I think everyone learned a lot.
Cool.
Yes.
Yeah, and if
you.
we have any requests on what kind of social media topic you guys want to talk about for the next one, we could we had talked about maybe doing some sort of a like walkthrough of different platforms, like an educational based one. So if you wanted to do something like that, we could, or any topics, either just send them to Sydney so that she can send them to me, or you can send them to me directly, so that for the next time I know what you guys want to hear about.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.